Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach, and it is another Wednesday, another Wisdom Wednesday for the Busy 9-to-5ers Hive, where entrepreneurs are making their business trek to entrepreneurship and making the transformation so that they can have a transformative life. I am your host and coach, Dr. Yam, and so let's get busy. How's everyone doing today? Again, this is Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach, and you are part of the Busy 9-to-5ers Hive. This is a space where I help aspiring entrepreneurs create their escape route, that route from which they will transform themselves from employees to entrepreneurs. And you all have your own journeys to take. The whole point is that you take the first step, and then I can help you to do so. So welcome to everyone today. So listen, we're going to get started. If, however, you are new to knowing more about us inside of our Wisdom Wednesdays is our opportunity to focus on mindset and focusing on that entrepreneurial mindset we all want to get and aspire to and get better at. Even myself, and I've been doing this now for over 7 years, and it's still a work in progress. So know that it starts with the head, then you go to the heart, and then you get your hands all busy with the work. So we get to cover all 3 facets in everyone's own pace. But I'm going to be here to boost you up if necessary. A little push, a little progress makes a world of difference. If you haven't already done so, and this is your first time hearing from me, then please visit us over at busy9to5ershive.com. That's where our aspiring entrepreneurs are hanging out. And then, of course, where am I? I'm over at the Keep It Simple Coach.info space. You'll find my blog, newsletter, events, and opportunities as well that you can connect with me and I can help to accelerate that idea that you have for your small business. Now, today's question for Wisdom Wednesday is centered around what is a DBA? And do you need one? So let's start with what is a DBA? So when we think of the term DBA, it stands for doing business as. And what that means is, in the business sense, is that we all have our own proper names. I'm Yamilet Williams. You are Bob Green. You are Cynthia Jones. Those are proper names. Right? And that you were given and that you have an identity by way of a driver's license, marriage certificate, or what have you. When you go into the world of business, you want to be able to have a presence in setting up your business presence. And sometimes you come up with an idea for a business name. And so there's an opportunity for you to formalize that in a way. And there's different places in which this is going to occur. So I like to just break that down for you. Some places require that you have one, others don't. It's certainly an opportunity for you just to do so as a cover. So I'm going to kind of cover a couple different ways in which you'll look at it and whether or not this is something that will work for you as opposed to maybe another part of what we call business structures. So when we talk about business structures, we're talking about, are you going to get incorporated? Are you going to be an S Corp or a C Corp? Are you going to be an LLC? All of these different components are all making up for setting up your business. So DBA is another option that you hear of often and may be thinking, do I need to do it or not? So I thought it would be helpful today to kind of get that clarity under your belts. So I'm going to bring this up for you. So let's just define what is a DBA. So when we think about a DBA, it's an acronym. It stands for doing business as. And it's sometimes referred to as like a trade name or a fictitious business name, kind of like a nickname, right, for your business. And so DBA allows a business to operate under that name that is different than your legal name that I just spoke of, right? And for example, if you're John Smith and you want to operate your cleaning business as ABC Cleaning, well, then you're going to need to file a DBA And in some states, DBAs are filed at the county level as opposed to at a state level. So this is where, depending on where you live or what province or state or country you live in, these all will differ. So I'm just giving it to you at a high level, but you will need to do a bit of research with respect to that. And you also will get this information in our upcoming starter kit for starting your biz. The other component with respect to a DBA is, what does a DBA provide you as a business owner that is different than maybe an LLC? And I'm going to do a comparison with you with respect to that as well. When we think about filing your DBA, it allows you as a business owner to use that name rather than your legal name to operate the business. It's a filing of that nickname, that fictitious name, that can be very beneficial for you when it comes to developing that brand recognition and that presence that you want to have, so that it can be creative and descriptive in respect to your business. Because if you just said, I'm Bob Green, that's not necessarily a business. They just know you as Bob Green. They don't know you as ABC Cleaner when you say Bob Green, right? But Bob Green is a personal name and not the business name. It's just your legal name. So what a DBA allows you as a business owner to do is to operate a business and also to generate an ability for you to open up a business bank account. So there's the other piece to the pie. And also that you can receive payments in the name of the business and not in your personal name. This is a key piece, because you want to be able, and I say this time and time again, but you want to be able to separate your personal monies from your business monies. Now, in some cases, without the name being either incorporated or inside of an LLC, this is why a DBA can be kind of this first step in the process. So sometimes I tell some of my aspiring entrepreneurs that start with a DBA. You don't have to, but it's a simpler way of getting your business started if you're starting at the hustle side gig lane, okay? Some of you are starting at the side gig lane and some of you are all in, and either one will work. But a DBA allows for you to kind of get that first step out the door without a lot of formality, but you still can do it within the context of a legal step, because you want to be recognized. So there is a step. And again, every state requirements are different. Now, when we think of an LLC, which is kind of like, if we look at it from a ranking, there's DBA, LLC, S Corp, C Corp. Okay. So there's all these different corporate structures that you can build up. Each one has a different intent and purpose. So the lowest rung is a DBA, just a step up from you as a personal individual. Now, so we've gone from DBA. Then the other option that you have, for some of you who want to go in like all in and full on, is an LLC. And an LLC means limited liability company. And just what it means, it allows you to operate as a business as a separate entity from you, the person. And in some cases, in some states, the LLC is much more formal than getting a DBA. And because the DBAs don't have all those other requirements or restrictions that you may have. Now, the other part to this is the way that LLCs can be structured is that you can have a person other than yourself in that business structure of a limited liability company. Can be a limited liability sole proprietor, which would be just you, as you are the owner and manager and nobody else, sole proprietor LLC. You'll see that on some forms. There's also a full-on LLC. This means that there are other individuals other than yourself who have a stake in a legal entity in ownership of the business. And therefore, each member of that owner, be a manager or hold some type of stake in the business, are also included from taxing perspective. And so, therefore, they're going to file differently. So LLC is the level up from a DBA, and it involves rather a bit more formality, but it also has a level of protection that a DBA doesn't have. That being said, so the similarities between an LLC and a DBA. Both an LLC and a DBA will allow you as a business owner to work as a name of a business, so that rather than under your name, meaning that if you write out an invoice or you bill someone, you can bill with that name and not your personal name, and it protects you. The difference is, and also both will allow you to get a business banking account with a DBA or a LLC. You have to be filed as a business entity with your governance of local governance or state. And then it's that identification that's going to allow you to open up your business account, and also for you to get your tax identification, because at the end of the day, it's all about the taxes. So how would an LLC not be like a DBA? The biggest difference between that DBA, the baby version, and an LLC is liability protection. If something were to ever happen to you on someone else's work site, as an example, if you were just under your DBA, there is no real distinction between the business owner and the business. It's simply that nickname, remember, that a business owner is walking around with. But the liability of all expenses are going to rest on behalf of the business. And that also means that if anything were to happen to personal property or on somebody else's property, you are fully liable. So there's that piece about the difference between doing your LLC. You have some protection. A DBA does not afford you that. So yes, it may take a little bit more time to do the filing. It is really not that hard. Let me just start that. It's not a hard process. It may cost a little bit more, but at the end of the day, it does separate the personal person from the business. Should anything ever happen, that you will be considered liable for insurance purposes, and also that no one could take your personal owning. So for instance, let's say you got your DBA and someone came on to in your home site, for that matter, and something happened to them, or they bought your product and they weren't satisfied with it. They got a rash and they want to sue you for it. Well, they're going to sue you for it, not the business, because a DBA doesn't protect you. Whereas if you were falling under a limited liability, then yes, they could only sue the business and not you personally. That's where your protection lies. That's why it's called a limited liability versus doing business as. It's like, I'm just running around with a nickname on, like I just threw a t-shirt with my name on. That's the only difference. That's the only thing that DBA really does for you. But it is a formalized step in the direction of entrepreneurship as far as giving you a business identity. A DBA also doesn't provide you any tax benefits. So when you go to file your taxes, you're going to file it like you always have. You're not getting any benefits. You're not going to do a Schedule C and get all the write-offs either. Whereas when you choose LLC within that corporate structure, then you will receive special tax treatments that an individual, as a regular, either head of household or single, on their filing for taxes are going to get. So that's the real benefit. So is it worth your time and where you are right now to doing a DBA or doing a full LLC? And it's really a matter of choice. Sometimes just going in on the front end and say, let me just do an LLC because I might blow up the next day. And then what'll happen? If you want to take that baby step, because you're just like, well, I'm just doing this as a side gig. I only do it, on the weekends and craft stores, craft fairs and things like that. and you just want to test out the waters and not want to, put your pinky toe in, then yeah, do a DBA. No big deal. If you know that this is where you're headed, you might as well just do it all right. Not to say that DBAs are wrong, but do it full on the first time with a limited liability. Invest in yourself and fulfill the requirements that are necessary at your state governance. The other piece that you should be mindful of when we talk about LLCs, and again, it could be a sole proprietor LLC, is that you will be required by your state, and they will tell you this when you fill out your form, that you will need to do like what we call an annual report. Just like corporations have to do their annual report to their stakeholders and let everybody know what's the status and is you still in business. That is essentially what an annual report will be for you as an LLC. So in my case here in Florida, I submit mine. I think you have to do it by May or March of every spring. You submit a report. It's real simple. It's just basically an assurance that you are still legally operating as that entity, and that you got to pay a fee to the state. And that way you're going to be on a list of names, right, that are going to show up that, yeah, they're legit. That's the whole point of doing your annual report. And that you're on a list of names of operating and doing business. The other piece to this pie with respect to both the DBA and doing your limited liability filing with the state is that fictitious name that you're using to file for your LLC or for your DBA will restrict other people from using that name when they go to file in the same state as you. So you only get coverage in the state for that name. It's not going to be unique. So that means somebody could take my name and put it in another state, unless I went ahead and registered my business in all the other states, which you could certainly do. Most states do not require that you have to be a resident of that state to open up a business. And so there are different restrictions, but that typically is not one of them. And so the point around that is that you will pay an annual renewal fee alongside it. So this is part of your budget that you want to be aware of. So whereas the fictitious name certificate that you're going to do with your DBA it has the right to use that name, is just a one-time filing, and you won't have an annual report because, again, you're not a formalized business enterprise. You're just a person who's using a nickname. Whereas a liability and protection and getting the tax benefits of an LLC is what will afford you that benefit. Let me give you an example of why I have both an LLC and a DBA. And you're like, you can do both? Yes, you can. And here's why this has occurred for me. I started my business of Synergy Solution Partners and filed as an LLC, sole proprietor, several years ago, and have been operating and still do to this day. Several years ago, however, I began to operate another identity of the Keep It Simple Coach as a brand. That allows me, I wanted to be able to use that name as a business identity so that I could brand and bill and open up under the name of Keep It Simple Coach. So what did I have to do? I had to apply to the state as a DBA for doing business as the Keep It Simple Coach and pay the filing for it. I did not have to do another LLC because I have one primary enterprise of Synergy Solutions, and Keep It Simple Coach is simply underneath it. And I operate with the same EIN number. I only have one tax filing number in one business. But the identity of Keep It Simple Coach is held off, right? I got to close that off so no one else can use it because it's filed with the state as an identity, as a formalized fictitious name that I have ownership of. And therefore is why I ended up with both an LLC and a DBA. So there is an opportunity for you to do both. You may start to do other branding components where you want to stake a claim on a name. So in as much as we talk about domain names, you also must keep in mind that you want to have your fictitious names accounted for the types of brands that you are espousing, for lack of a better term, and you're using out there. Just tossing out a name, if you don't either do it by trademark, at least by the fictitious name, and start utilizing it as owning it, you will have less likelihood of somebody else trying to grab it. And that's why a DBA is another useful means of taking on a business identity. So yes, can you have just a DBA? Yes, you can. Can you have just an LLC? Yes, you can. Do you need both? No, you don't. Is there benefit in one over the other? Yes. Filing an LLC will both protect you from a liability and offer you the tax benefits that a DBA will not. So then it becomes a decision. And simply put, do you need one? Is it going to work for you? That's the question you have to ask yourself. That, my friends, is today's Wisdom Wednesday question. DBAs, is it good for me? And is it something that I need? I want you to think about it. We're going to be moving forward in building out our business ideas, and that this is going to be a decision you're going to need to make as you move forward in formulating your business plan and your escape route for the busy 9-to-5er's hive. So this is Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach. Please, let's get busy. Talk to you real soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.